welcome to our next episode of GlassCast, the official podcast of Glass Magazine and the National Glass Association. I'm Katie Devlin, the content director for the NGA and editor-in-chief of Glass Magazine. And I'm here once again with my colleague Sarah Neiswanger, the associate director of industry engagement for the National Glass Association. We are recording this podcast on the GlassBuild America 2024 floor in Dallas. Before we kick things off, I want to thank our sponsors, our podcast studio booth sponsor, Oldcastle Building Envelope, our other podcast studio sponsors, North American Specialty Laminators, Schott, and Becca. Now, for those of you who are not at the show, I do want to take a minute just to describe this GlassBuild podcast studio. It's our first time having the studio on the floor. The enclosure was designed and fabricated by Oldcastle Building Envelope, or OBE. And for folks not at the show, you can just visualize two glazed walls of the enclosure, which feature high-performance Reliance LT curtain wall and digitally printed eyeglass from OBE. And the booth design, of course, is a nod to our host city of Dallas, which happens to be the headquarter location for OBE. There's a beautiful image of the skyline printed on the outward face of the glass, and the curtain wall has a nice 2-inch sight line and customizable depth, which offers some versatility for glazers. If you are curious to learn more, please visit obe.com. And for our interview in this episode, I am so delighted to welcome Oldcastle Building Envelope's President of Glass and Glazing Systems, Steve Dean. So, Steve, let's start a little bit with your biography. Why don't you introduce yourself?
A little bit about myself. So sure, I'm new to Oldcastle, new to the glass industry, as we talked about. I spent 25 years of my career in industrial distribution and 10 in metal finishing. So I was very fortunate to have worked with a large publicly traded company globally. I had several opportunities and jobs over the years. So I was on their integration team when we did mergers and acquisitions. So I was really fortunate to have a great career path there. When the opportunity with Oldcastle came up, it was really exciting with all the changes, technology, and what's happening with the glass industry. It was exciting to be a part of that. Personally, you probably hear my Boston accent. So I grew up, born and raised in the Boston market. I've lost most of the accent, but not all.
Oh, I still catch a little bit of it. And, you know, at GlassBuild, we just had a wonderful set of presenters, 3 of whom were all from Boston. So maybe it's coming out a little bit.
It's the Karas and Karas.
Yes.
I actually ran them down in the hallway today so I could say hello to them.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, well, Boston right here at the main stage in the studio.
That's right.
So, Steve, why don't you kind of talk us through a little bit how your previous experience has prepared you for the glass industry?
It's a great question. And I think, Katie, for me, what ended up happening, I mentioned I had a lot of different opportunities. I was on a merge team that bought a company and integrated into an existing, and then I was on the executive team that sold that company to a competitor and actually integrated that business. So one of the things when you look at Oldcastle, we're one of the only fully integrated North American suppliers of glass and metal, right? So we start here with our billet supply. We have billet, and we do metal processing in Terrell and Midway. So having that, that whole complete solution really allowed us to focus on that customer segment and really integrate the business. So I think that history of being able to take 2 companies and put them together and integrate was really the foundation for me. The second part, which was really important, is I ran a global EPC and capital projects team for 3 years. So I had a global team that basically just focused on major capital projects. So in the industrial distribution space, we did a lot of high voltage and medium voltage and basically power. So I had the opportunity to do that. And then my last couple of years, I ran our utility division. So even here in Texas, I have very good relationships with Encore and the utility. So probably that project foundation and project pursuit and really understanding how to help our customers in this space.
Sure. Yeah, and just an industry that relies on collaboration and, connections with your customers.
That's right. And it's a people industry. And I think when you think about the glazing community, how critical it is to help deliver the right products at the right time and manage projects. And then also support our end user customers.
What about, has anything surprised you about the glass industry?
So I thought about that question a lot because it's, I've been 6 months in there. So I don't think anything's been surprising. I think probably more impressive. One of the things is when you meet the communities and even being at the trade show this week, you realize that there's a lot of very good people in this industry. You also realize it's a very tight-knit community. So I think, if anything, I would say less surprised and more impressed by the industry, and thinking about, again, how you manage projects in a different industry. But a lot of the foundational stuff stays the same. But yeah, I didn't have anything that totally surprised me.
That's always nice.
Yeah, it's been some of the best 6 months that I've had in a long time. So it's been really fun to get to learn and catch up. I feel like I'm speed reading and spending all weekend trying to learn about the industry while also learning about the business itself.
Excellent. Well, so this is your first time to GlassBuild, obviously. What's your take on it so far?
Incredibly impressive. So it's nice, again, because you have that complete solution. It's nice to see the manufacturers of the equipment here. It's nice to see the new technology and some of the changes that the industry's seeing. But then there's a lot of just regular day-to-day suppliers that are here that we're able to meet with, and then a lot of customers. So I think the one thing, maybe that's a good one. What did surprise me is just the sheer number of customers here this week. I expected it to be more of a manufacturing show, but it's really a mix of both. So it's nice to see that collaboration.
Excellent. Well, collaboration is definitely a goal we are repeating over and over again. So I'm glad you're seeing it in action.
Firsthand, and especially being new. And in the utility industry, we had 2 major trade shows every year, and then we've had some every other year. So very impressed with the whole event this week.
Great.
So, you've been with OBE 6 months,
Yeah.
but, we're all looking forward. So I'm curious what you are most excited about as we look into the next year, the next 5 years for OBE, but also for the industry at large.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, so if you think about trends in construction industry, I think that's probably the opportunity for us. So really when you start, we have what we call OBE 360, which is design assist. So working with our glazing contractors to be able to do design assist work and help them get further ahead of the project. I think the other thing that you talked about is when you think about construction project, the trends are the same, right? So the trends are around reducing labor at the job site, getting jobs done quicker. There's less people available in the market today. So how do we help and do pre-unitized solutions and glazing solutions so that we can help our contractors manage projects, faster and more profitably? And I think that those trends really transverse through all the different industries that are in the construction industry. So that's been really great about that. And I think, as we continue to leverage that commercial piece, and really for us, it's how do we stay maniacally focused on our customer experience? I think that's probably our largest opportunity, and just commercially think about how we support customers.
Well, welcome to the industry.
Glad to be here.
Welcome to GlassBuild. It's wonderful. And, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
My pleasure. I appreciate you having me this week.
Oh. Well, thank you all for tuning in on this latest episode of GlassCast. Thank you again to our GlassBuild podcast studio sponsors, Oldcastle Building Envelope, North American Specialty Laminators, Schott, and Becca. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.